So I have to keep the name.
So there's too much disturbance. Anand sir, may I request you to reposition your camera slightly? Hello, Anumita ma'am.
Hi,
Hi, it's so good to see you.
great to see you all.
We have a lovely panel today, and we're hoping we have a very engaging discussion.
Yeah.
Though I know it's a very limited duration, we are hoping forward to have more detailed discussions in the coming future.
Absolutely. We're great to be here.
Thank you so much. We'll just give the participants another minute to join, and we'll start. Thank you.
Namaskar, Dr. Beig.
Namaste, namaste. How are you?
I'm good. After a long time, we are seeing.
Yeah. I could recognize you by looking at your face.
Yeah. Namaste, Amrita ma'am.
Namaste. How are you?
I am good, ma'am. I'm good. How are you?
Good. Great to see you, Dr. Beig.
Yes. Thank you. Yeah, after a long time we have been seen.
That's right.
The pandemic has made us so distant apart that
Exactly.
meeting physically, the only thing is that we can do it through online only.
So true.
Okay, I would like to wish everyone, all the panelists, all esteemed panelists, as well as participants, a very good afternoon. And thank you all for joining us for this very important discussion today. I know 1 hour is not a very long time for a discussion. So we'd appreciate that while experts are giving their recommendations, we would encourage participants to put in their feedback and suggestions in the chat box. And if you do have questions for specific speakers, you can post it in the Q&A section of the Zoom webinar. And I would appreciate if panelists could, just try to resolve the queries. Yes. With this, I am opening the session for today on air quality. And I would now like to invite Dr. Gufran Beig, who's a former project director as well as chief scientist at the Indian Institute of Tropical Meteorology. And I would like him to share some insights on.
Farah, we have a presentation first.
Oh, sorry. I missed that. I'd like to invite Amrita who will be technically doing a presentation today on the air quality analysis on the landscape and the mitigation measures. Yes, Amrita, over to you.
So you're on mute.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. In this presentation today, I would like to briefly walk you all through the air analysis that we all have done for air quality management, which includes a trend analysis for different kinds of pollutants and also identification of air pollution hotspots. This would be followed by a round of comments from our esteemed speakers who would talk about the actions and recommendations that would be that is required for this sector. For the analysis, after the analysis of different air pollutants, we have come into this conclusion that 3 air pollutants, PM10, PM2.5, and nitrogen dioxides are the 3 critical pollutants for Mumbai. The particulate matters have been analyzed for the years from 2015 to 2020, where we find that their concentrations has decreased very slightly, but their concentrations were way above the CPCB limits. The primary sources of the particulate matters in the city are the paved and unpaved road dust, the construction activities, the traffic emissions, and open and landfill burning. For nitrogen dioxides, their concentration has increased steadily from 2010 to 2018. Then there was a slight, drastic drop in their concentration, probably under the influence of COVID. And their primary sources are the large-scale industries, the Tata Power Limited, and also the traffic emissions. After that, we segregate the data for PM 2.5 to see how their concentrations varies between different months of the year and time of the day for the Kurla stations. In 2019, we find that their concentration had started increasing from mid of August till February and reached a peak in the month of December, where the maximum concentrations was where their concentrations were way above 100 microns. Over the period of a day, when we find that their concentrations have increased again in the peak morning and evening hours, the situation has changed slightly into 2020 under the impact of COVID-19, when we find that the average concentrations was between 60 to 80 microns, and and it also started increasing during the winter months, reaching a peak in December. However, their concentration remained uniform throughout the day, probably because there was staggered timing of offices and there was not so much traffic in the road. Coming to the analysis of air pollution hotspots, here we have mapped the concentration of PM 2.5 at stations for the 2019-2020, where we find that the major concentrations are around central and south Mumbai, and also in some areas like in southeastern part, and also in parts in the Malad monitoring stations in the northwest. With respect to the concentrations of nitrogen dioxide, carbon monoxide, and sulfur dioxide, again, Mist ward consistently emerges as the site of highest pollution in the city. For nitrogen dioxide, its concentrations is in central part and also in southeastern part, probably contributed by the Tata thermal power plant. For carbon monoxide, along with the Mist ward, some traces are also found in the southern part of the city in GS and FS, and also in the northeastern part in Mulund. This is also probably contributed by the frequent landfill fires in the landfill sites in Deona. For sulfur dioxide, the concentrations are again Mist ward and also in the west in HW and HE wards. This is also the zone where medium scale and large scale industries are found, and also the airport is there, which might be some contributing factor for this pollutant. We kind of try to analyze what are the initiatives that the city corporation have taken in terms of for mitigating this air pollution, in terms of data monitoring, policy programs, and projects related to other sectors which affect the air quality of the city. For data monitoring, several continuous air quality monitoring stations have been installed. The Vayu has been installed at 5 traffic junctions, which purify the ambient air quality at the traffic junctions. For policy and programs, the Clean Air Action Plan has been prepared by MPCB, A draft interim report on source apportionment studies have also been prepared in January 2020, which is still on the verge of being finalized. With respect to projects undertaken for other sectors, there is checking and installing of PUC by West for buses every 6 months. Enforcement marshals have been appointed. There is also increased LPG access to Pradhan Mantri Ujjwala Yojana. Then there is banning of entry of heavy vehicles, and also there is reduction of sulfur content in the fuel. And for this, Tata Power has kind of adopted the technique of flue gas desulfurization. However, there are certain challenges that the city is facing with respect to poor air quality, and primarily it is due to high congestion and large-scale emission, where Mumbai has been coined as the second most congested city by the TomTom Index in 2020. There is high particulate matter and nitrogen dioxide concentrations due to construction activities and traffic emissions. Construction activities, we find that contribute to 8% of the total emissions of particulate matter. Especially the construction that's going on for Mumbai metro projects. Paved and unpaved road dusts also contribute to this, and there is lack of enforcement of implementation of CND rules. With respect to waste sectors, there is frequent fires at the landfill sites, and there is also indiscriminate frequent burning of wastes. There are also certain information and monitoring gaps. For data gaps, we find there is lack of data granularity and publicly available published data. Then there is practically no data on personal exposure levels from indoor air pollution, occupational exposure hazards, etc. For monitoring, there is lack of sufficient air pollution monitoring stations. There is also a need for dedicated cell within MCGM for air quality monitoring and management, and need for improved coordination among institutions. For forecasting and awareness, at present, there is no forecasting mechanisms for increasing the preparedness of government and people, and also awareness and capacity building is lacking. Taking all these things into consideration, we kind of developed a broad goal for reducing and improving the air quality of the city, like towards a low emission, cleaner air for Mumbai, for which we have adopted this approach, which is a two-stage approach that needs to work simultaneously together. In the stage one, the assessment stage would comprise of a time-bound monitoring day-to-day basis, and also with respect to the sources of the pollutions. And this would lead to devising sector-specific strategies, followed by implementation of the existing policies and plans. And together, this would also help to address the critical air pollution issues at the high-risk neighborhoods through development and implementation of ward-level plans. Assessment would also assessment would also need a forecasting mechanism, and this would help in reducing the personal exposure. With this approach, we kind of identified certain very broad strategies under each of these steps. For assessment, as it has been pointed out, Motghare and management cell need to be established along with a robust database management system. Source apportionment studies, which are presently undertaken at the interval of 10 years, can be undertaken at an interval of 2 to 3 years. For sector-specific action plans, city need to adopt for cleaner fuel and decongestion by shift to public transport, improve waste collection mechanisms, scientific remediation of landfill site, and CND waste can be reduced a lot through better road sweeping and washing mechanism. The industrial emissions from the industrial sectors can be reduced by adoption to low sulfur fuels and also increasing the stack heights. With respect to implementation and enforcement, faster and time-bound implementation of Clean Air Action Plan and also enforcement of the CND rules 2016. There should be 100% coverage of the Pradhan Mantri Ujjwala Yojana. For ward action plans, firstly, the critical vulnerable wards need to be identified, then a detailed health risk assessment need to be taken. Adaptation and coping mechanism and equitable supply of services should be provided. It should also include a participatory approach for creating a ward level planning map and also an awareness program amongst the local people of taking the precautionary measures and how to implement this ward level plan. Finally, in the stage 2, assessment would lead to this forecasting, scientific forecasting, through which an early warning system can be set up within MCGM that would increase the preparedness of the government and the people. And this would help to enhance the health resilience, reduce the personal exposure of different communities of people, mainly the low-income people. And along with forecasting, some studies can also be commissioned for to assess this exposure levels. So with this, I would like to conclude my presentation and open the floor for discussion for the speakers. Thank you.
Thank you, Amrita, so much for a very comprehensive and quick view into the assessment of the air quality landscape, as well as suggestive measures as to what can be taken forward. Thank you so much. Now, I would like to call upon Dr. Gufran Beig to share with us that there currently exists a system for air quality monitoring and forecasting. How can this be further improved to ensure that we have better insight and therefore have a better mitigation action plan for Mumbai city?
Okay, good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you fine, Dr. Beig.
Perfect.
Yes.
As I know that we are very tight schedule of 5 to 7 minutes. So just wish to tell firstly that we want to correct the earlier speaker. Probably she is unaware of the fact that there is a suffer forecasting system which is operational very systematically since 2015 onwards. So that correction Amrita Chakraborty has to make it, because based on that she has proposed the future things also. So a lot of things have been done, that one correction has to be done. Well, coming to the realistic issue is that now that we have a sufficient amount of data, we have an emission inventory of 2015, where we found out with 1 kilometer by 1 kilometer resolution what are the major sources in the different areas. So by what we started in Delhi with APCA, I think this is something need of the hour at this stage of time, where I think Motghare sir is there, so I think he can we can facilitate that particular thing. Is that by combining the observational data on a particular day and the emission inventory hotspots, we can generate a GIS based map for the hotspots region in a week in advance, so that in a particular area what are the sources, so that it could be an actionable item to improve the air quality of that particular area. So that is something which we did it in Delhi and it was quite successful. I think Mumbai we need it, but for which you need to have a forecasting air quality which SAFAR has, and the emission inventory which we are having. Now the last emission inventory which was prepared, it was on 2015, which 1 by 1 kilometer resolution. Although we have upgraded that emission inventory with 400 meter by 400 meter resolution based on purely a theoretical data available from the government sites, but there is an urgent need to update it in 2021. So I think this is something which is a very important policy makers, because the kind of a emission scenario for Mumbai is very different. I will just share one slide if it is easier for me to.
Sir, actually, we have a no PPT policy for this session. So if you could just convey it through your, your speech only.
So I understood what it is, because I was not about to tell any PPT. I was just about to show one particular slide only. But then just to read that out, the composition for different 5 sectors, broad sectors, 23 different sectors we took it, but power, transport, industry, biofuel and wind-blown dust, the contribution in PM 2.5 power is about 10%, transport is just 16%, industry is about 27%, biofuels is about 27%, and wind-blown dust is only just 21%. Whereas when you come to PM 10, then power is about 7%, transport 7%, industry 15%, biofuel 14%, and wind-blown dust is about 57%. So those are the things which are there. These are the 2 major factors which are important. And I kind of disagree with the fact that NO2 is becoming a major threat for Mumbai, but I feel that ozone is becoming a more threat, because the variability in NOx, whatever is being shown, which may be hourly or maybe daily values, but it cannot be a yearly average is not going above a certain level. So that is something which is what I think I should conclude by telling that there are two priorities for the mitigation. Number one, we should start for an immediate relief to the people who are already vulnerable to pollution, to tell well in advance in a particular week what are the priorities in a different regions, top hotspots region in Mumbai, number one. And number two, to update the emission inventory, which I have mentioned about the percentage, which must have changed because there are a lot of mitigation measures which is taken during the last 5 years. This is the scenario for 2010, 2015. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Beig, for being so succinct in your presentation and for these two major recommendations that you have suggested. With this, I would like to invite Ronak Sutaria, who is the founder of Respirer Living Sciences, to speak about how low-cost monitoring devices or mobile monitoring vans, etc. These are all the latest technology which are coming in. So, Ronak, how do you suggest these be used to complement the existing monitoring system? And what is the role that it would play in this entire quality monitoring space?
Yes, thanks, Farah, for inviting me and for allowing me to speak amongst the esteemed experts on the panel. Air quality monitoring, of course, there are veterans here. Dr. Beig, of course, has set the benchmark on how city level monitoring has to be done across large metros. Dr. Motghare is here and he supported a lot of this work. I'll just share some of the experiences. We've been doing this work since 2015. And we've been seriously tracking this work on what's happening globally. And I can share some of the findings that we've had in projects that we've done in Mumbai, in Maharashtra, as well as some of the central government funded projects and initiatives that are going on. I'll make 2 or 3 quick points over here. Primarily this activity, especially with affordable technologies, which is broadly known as low-cost sensors-based technology, has been around for a while. The earlier papers, that started coming in peer-reviewed journals is from around 2014, 2015 onwards. But the more mature publications have been coming since about 2017. So this is about a 4-year-old technology that we are referring to. So while it is not the most mature stage, it is at a reasonably strong and stable levels. The National Clean Air Program, which has been around since 2019, has been actively engaging a large number of scientific community researchers across the country. And in March 2021, which is a few months ago, clear guidelines actually have been put across both by the ministry and by the research, the active members from the NCAP. And one of the findings was, one of the decisions that was taken was that air quality monitoring is not necessarily limited to regulatory purposes, and it has a use for planning, for citizen, community level monitoring and hotspot identification, which is also what Dr. Beig referred to. This was, based on discussions that were held and decisions that were taken, that it was found that, there are applications which are directly relevant for city level planning. And a hybrid system is what is being recommended as the most viable solution. So the use of high-end government supported monitors is definitely required. At the same time, bringing in some of these mature technologies has proven globally. And I'll just quickly touch upon few key points that we've been tracking happening. So in the US now, on the official US EPA's government website, you can find data from 10,000 low-cost sensors. And these sensors, while they are not installed by the US EPA, the data from them has been evaluated, and similar to how the AOD data is given out in level 0, level 1, Dr. Beig will be familiar. When you use, satellite data, AOD data, you get it at multiple levels. And the immediate data, it comes out as level 0, but data which comes 2 days later, 3 days later, goes through additional levels of check. And you can get a highly filtered level of data up to level 3, which can come up after a few weeks. But similar approaches are being done for low-cost sensors, where you can, there is technologies now available for sensor fault detection, which has been tested in the field, which eliminates several different kinds of faults from the sensors, combined with a national level calibration methodology, which has been evaluated. So starting from the US experience, which, and they tend to lead the way in some of this. So this time in India, in several cities of India, we are not too far behind, which has been recognized by the ministry and by DST also. UK, of course, has been running one of their most well-known project called Breathe London. And the results of that have been, giving very clear advisories to school children, to patients in hospital, of finding out how much effects of highway pollution is reaching these schools, at what times of the day is it most affecting children who may be outdoors. And all of this is being put out in near real time. So applications of those have been coming out now as we speak. Guidelines of, how to use, at least guidelines on what is the state of the art data specifications are now widely published. So anybody who is setting up a neighborhood level network has very clear guidelines available both in India and abroad on what does it take to install these kind of technologies in your own communities. One of the key things is, US EPA has now actually put out a law for community-led ambient air quality monitoring. So there is a law in the Senate called the Ambient Monitoring Technology Information Policy. And these are very actively supported by some of their government assistance programs. And I think primarily, for what I would say is that ultimately it boils down to cost considerations. A country like India, we have 7,950 census cities and towns. And if we really want to democratize our access to information, because ultimately, people are looking for improving their quality of living in all of these cities. So if we create a solution, let's say, which is costing 25 crores, which was a mitigation solution deployed in Delhi recently, it's going to be inaccessible to almost, most cities in India have got 10 crores as their entire budget for clean air. So solutions will need to be made proportionate to the cities and the budgets that are available to them. And Mumbai, of course, is at a different scale, and Mumbai is a unique city in many ways. But whatever we develop over here tends to be a template for many cities which have access to maybe 10 crores, 20 crores kind of budget. So we'll need to be mindful that whatever we build here is going to be replicated in at least 1,000 cities, if not more, in India. So, and MPCB, of course, has been doing excellent work. It led the program with IIT Kanpur in evaluating some of these technologies. Findings from that are quite encouraging, and they are in line with what has been observed globally. I'll just conclude my points by saying that PM 2.5, PM10 is a fairly mature way of looking at air quality. There are different parameters now, which are, especially around gases. Particularly now we are seeing methane monitoring becoming a factor because air quality is closely tied to the greenhouse gas emissions. And I would say, yes, of course, factors like NO2, SO2, and ozone, as Dr. Beig mentioned. And ozone monitoring actually is now something which can be done at a neighborhood level. There are some sources which are well known for ozone and NO2. But I will essentially conclude, and I'll summarize saying that the scientific validity for low-cost sensor technology has now been established both at the state and the center level. Applications for using this, has been outlined a number of cities are taking active steps in evaluation and assessing effectiveness of their clean air action plans. The cost benefits is almost a no-brainer in the sense that this is a factor of 15 to 20 times more affordable than the imported technologies. The societal benefits from identification of hotspots, prioritization of mitigation measures, and evaluation of clean air policies is some things which can be done using these kind of dense networks. And technology is constantly evolving. Vertical profiling is something which is very actively being done. We are also part of some projects where up to 200 meters, 300 meters, up to the mixing height, vertical measurements are being undertaken using aerostats and drones. So different kinds of data sets are going to start becoming available. And we are finding that all the governments at different levels are supporting the Atmanirbhar policy, and any initiatives which kind of aligns with the Atmanirbhar program is being looked at favorably. So we feel this is something which can now be actively deployed literally at every 2 square kilometer level, 2 to 4 square kilometers. That's all from my side, Farah.
Thank you, Ronak. Yes, technology is constantly evolving. You're absolutely right. With this, I would like to invite Anumita Roychowdhury, who's the Executive Director of Center for Science and Environment, who will now be sharing insights on, how using these different technologies. While monitoring is very essential, we need to have a mitigation action plan. An action plan for mitigating these measures. So welcome Anumita ji, and I would like you to now take over.
Thank you so much, Farah. I'm absolutely delighted that we are having this conversation today, and especially after the IPCC report was out and what IPCC said about Mumbai. That city is going to experience one of the highest increases in total annual rainfall. And also that is going to suffer from very high mean temperature and sea level rise to the end of this century. So all of that, and knowing that air pollution is already a crisis. So I think this is really a great opportunity for us, that when we are also talking about climate action plan, that there is a clear agenda for co-benefit. And we really have to look at the co-benefit, the spin-off from the interventions, and keeping in mind the science which is saying that if you have more CO2, you have more warming, and if you have more warming, then your local air pollutants, especially secondary pollutants, that's also going to increase, and it's kind of a double whammy. And therefore, like what Dr. Beig and Ronak have already said, we also need multi-pollutant approach to our mitigation. And in that, we also need to keep in mind that when we're talking about climate change and public health mitigation, we also need co-control approach. It's because the sources are more or less the same, whether you are controlling it for CO2 or whether for local air pollutants. And that's what we will keep in mind as we go forward. So clearly, all the source apportionment studies, inventories that we have seen so far, and we do understand quite well that in a city, what are the key sources of pollution? And therefore, we need a multi-sector plan. Already, Mumbai has adopted a multi-sector plan under NCAP, and that is getting implemented right now. So can we therefore quickly identify that some of those specific priority areas that we can focus on when we are looking at it from the different sectoral perspective? Now, clearly the pollution sources can be divided as dust sources and combustion sources. Now, as far as the dust sources are concerned, and I've been asked to also focus a little bit more on C&D waste aspect of the problem, because in a city, that is certainly a big problem. Now, I'm not getting into road dust, overall dust, because I'm so clear that the dust management is not just about road sweeping. It is about the overall urban environment management, the built environment management, greenery, etc. But construction and demolition waste, that's where we have to understand that where the co-benefits are. So we certainly want to build the mitigation agenda in such a way that we can maximize recycling, bring the waste back as a resource, and more we replace the natural aggregates with recycled aggregates, we can reduce carbon emissions. And with that, we can also see the largest reduction possible from replacements of cement and all of that. So the other benefit is that you can also help and avoid a lot of landfills because of the dumping of the C&D waste, and especially the landfills of the plastics and other metals coming from the construction industry. That's something that we really have to address on a priority basis. So therefore, the challenge right now in the city is that the current recycling is extremely low. And therefore, we need to look at what can we do about this. So first of all, I'm not too sure about the current status, but we certainly want to see that the municipal bylaws in the city get fully amended based on the C&D rules of 2016. And we should be able to do a lot better quantification of the waste streams and to be able to design the system more efficiently and effectively. We need to notify, so for all construction activities, and I'm talking about just not the building construction, I'm also talking about infrastructure, your metro construction, flyovers, everything. All construction require a comprehensive waste management plan, and that should be made mandatory for the bulk waste generators.
Hello. We seem to have lost Anumita. Can you hear me? Can you all hear me?
Yes, clear.
Maybe you can come back once you
Yes. I would now like to invite Vijay Anadkat, who's a senior fellow at WRI, and who will be sharing insights on how cleaner action plans can be implemented alongside the climate action plan that the city is currently developing. Welcome, Vijay.
Yeah, good afternoon. Can you hear me? Yeah. Okay, thank you. The first of all, when we are discussing with the cities, then the normally city says, okay, we don't have any problem of the air pollution. This is the biggest challenge. The second, that is the city's role, that as per both the act is the minimum. Even if we see in the Mumbai, the BPMC Act is there. There is only two lines, either section 246 and 48. They speaks about air pollution. So this is the second challenge that that the municipal corporation normally denies that their role is not there in the municipal corporation, particularly for the third very important thing is that that we say the development will always be there, and that is why even that in Mumbai every year the more than 2,500 trees are cut. So this also one of the biggest challenge the cities are facing. The fourth, when we are discussing the similar to the the Mumbai, we are discussing here in the Surat. The Surat was saying that we have the three side open. We have that the sea, and that is why we don't have the air pollution is the big issue. But it that, and similarly when we are also discussing with about the Mumbai, the people from the Mumbai also say that we don't have so when you say that we don't have the problem, then that is the big problem. And that is why we will not that particularly focusing on the how to handle this stuff personally. That is why what we suggest, we have to evaluate that all the my previous speakers says that the Mumbai has the the problem, particularly PM 2.510, NOx and SOx are the problematic stuff. So NOx, then naturally it's because of the vehicle you are the facing that. And if we see during the last 3 years, the average, like say that addition of the vehicles are about 56%. So it's a like say also big problem. The second is like say the Mumbai like say is surrounded by the like say the various like municipal corporation in that. If we see the NCAP and the like the non-attempted city of 122 identify the like say MOCFCC, where the 18 cities are from only from like say Mumbai, from the Maharashtra, and that is why the Maharashtra like say pollution control board is like say struggling a lot and like say doing the
I would like to intervene, Mr. Vijay.
Sir.
You said Maharashtra is having 18, Gujarat
Yes,
is
sir.
having only 1.
No.
Maharashtra
Gujarat is also 4.
Just a minute.
Sir.
Let me listen.
Sir.
Maharashtra having a highest number of monitoring stations, and it shows it is a public domain and air quality. That's why the Maharashtra is in a public domain, and we show the air quality what is there in the website. Other states may not be showing their air quality.
Sir.
Don't blame the Maharashtra is having 18. Okay.
Sir,
we'll come back to you.
Let me complete, sir. Like I am saying that that is why I am saying it's a Maharashtra pollution control, where the like say very like say challenging job, and like say they are doing well, sir. That was my like say sentence. Like say you have not heard properly that. What I am saying again, that either like say the corporation has to do lot. That's my like the second concern. So what I like say suggest that like say municipal corporation has to like say setting up the basically air quality cell, and they are doing, but it's an environment cell. Like say particularly if I like say discuss like cell, but it's not particularly for the air quality monitoring cell. Second, my suggestion is this cell should also be have like say kind of the committee, like say the political committee, which like say says about how to handle this stuff, and there must be some like say the air quality fund in the budget itself. If we see this, there is the environment cell, there is the environment quality cell, but it's not particularly the like say particularly focusing on air quality and how to handle it. Even in the 15th Finance Commission, we are like say getting the fund, but not particularly we are putting that aside there. So this is my second suggestion. This is first to establish one cell, we associate with the committee, which like say also added with the like some kind of political party like say representation. The second is the like say budget. Third one is a very important thing is the like say we should have the on environment management system, which we are like say the only state pollution control board is doing. It's like say equally important for the municipal corporation is to do that. The rest is like say the this is the like say my like say submission, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Vijay, for this brief note. I think Dr. Anumita Chaudhary has now rejoined, and I would request her to, come back online and, complete as to what are the mitigation measures that Mumbai can take, and how as a city we can, use those measures to build a climate resilient Mumbai.
So sorry, Farah, I just fell off. So I'll just very quickly try and share some of the key interventions that we need to focus on. So just to complete the CNT waste part, which I had started off by doing that, I just want to say that there are many aspects to that action, but some of the additional critical interventions that are needed is to ensure that we mandate a certain percentage of the material for new construction to be recycled material. And we have to ensure material recovery to such an extent that we should also be able to therefore reduce the requirement of recycling as well. So in situ material recovery, and then mandating use of the recycled material in the construction sector will be absolutely critical. And also keep in mind that the big challenge is going to come from the new generation building material, plastics, insulation material, glazing, composite material. And that's going to be very difficult. Recycling of this is going to be very difficult and expensive. So we have to keep an eye on that and develop systems for that. Moving forward, there are multiple other sources when we come to combustion sources. Now, clearly, as far as industry and power plants concerned, as far as Mumbai city is concerned, obviously you have started to take out a lot of the industrial units out of the city. But to be able to maximize the effort, we need to ensure that all the units that you have within the periphery of the city, that we have a very clear action plan and mitigation strategy for them. And therefore the pollution, now the biggest challenge is the small scale units. Pollution control effort is going to be minimal there, and monitoring is going to be very difficult. And some bigger industries you can still monitor, have SEMs and have transparent data sharing, etc. But you certainly need a strategy for the small scale units. And for that, some of the focus points should be the phasing out of dirty fuels and try and get natural gas as much as possible, but with competitive pricing. And at the same time, take some technology forward, like have common boilers instead of having tiny, tiny small boilers all over, and do pollution control. And keeping in mind that most of the industries in and around Mumbai are chemical industry, and a lot of use of solvents, therefore solvent recovery and control of VOC emissions will also become absolutely critical. And fugitive dust in the industrial areas because of poorly maintained roads, truck movement, all of that will have to be controlled. Power plants, we know there are 2 plants. They're also very old plants. Now we have to see what decisions we take about them. Yes, we know that the constant upgradation is happening there, but we need to do it with clear target and see that what further we do with them, and also look at the coal handling and fly ash management. Vehicle and transport sector, that's where we see the biggest opportunity in the city. And we know that the city has to build on its advantage. It has already got multimodal transportation system, but the plan will have to be driven by very clear-cut binding targets. At least 90% ridership will have to be by public transport and sustainable transportation forms, but we need to know the current baseline so that we can change and track annual change in modal share. And for that, we need the system for multimodal integration, implementation of ITS and ITS integration, but all that data digitization that is going to take place, the data will have to be used for proper planning. We need to implement urban street design guideline for public transport access, walking, cycling, do that ward-wise, develop integrated plan, implement zonal plans for non-motorized transport network and low emission zones, adopt compact urban form, high street grid density approaches, and so forth. But at the same time, we need the restraint policy. I know Mumbai, the municipal corporation is working and developing the parking policy, but the design of that, the parking area management plan with all the restraint measures in that, the pricing, limiting the parking availability, not allowing parking in certain areas, all of that will have to be put in place and will have to be implemented ward-wise. And also look at the benefit of parking revenue, which can also then be used for local area development. We need massive improvement on-road emission management. Maharashtra has already adopted the green tax policy for the older vehicles, but this will have to be taken forward. You now need remote sensing, etc., for both advanced on-road emissions monitoring, phase out of old vehicles, and more important, that the bigger opportunity for the future in Mumbai is an electric vehicle policy. Maharashtra has already adopted one with a target of 10% electrification, but Mumbai as a city should certainly be able to go for 25%. And for that, whatever fiscal, non-fiscal incentive, charging ecosystem, rationalization of duty, taxes, changing building bylaws to enable charging, all of that will have to be put in place. And the final segment, the sector that I just want to touch upon very quickly, is the solid waste management, the circularity of the waste. And that's again the same principle of reuse and recycle, but devil is in the detail. Therefore, the Finance Commission money that is coming to the ULBs today, and it's very important that we leverage that funding to be able to create very proper infrastructure for the whole household level segregation, segregated collection, segregated transport, material recovery plants, recycling and composting facilities, and also proper management of landfills and dealing with the legacy waste, which will have to be the priority. We need to enforce banning of the garbage burning, but good waste management will automatically lead to that, and minimize the use of waste to energy plants, and do that only if it is needed. But if we do proper waste recovery, then we perhaps will not even need that or need it of a smaller capacity. The final point, therefore, what I would like to say is that while we now need to come up with the plan with the priority interventions and mitigation strategy for each sector, but the plan must also come with monitoring and evaluation system. Key performance indicators will have to be developed and to be able to measure the effectiveness of the plan and to measure the larger outcomes. And for that, you need multi-agency coordination, data sharing and management, dedicated monitoring unit, and implementation support, very strong technical and knowledge support. I think with that, I'll end here and can take it forward later on. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. You've shared a lot of information, in a very short amount of time. Thank you so much. I would now like to invite Bhagwan Kesbhat, who's the founder and CEO of Waatavaran, and give us a brief direction into how citizens can be mobilized and how we can look at, ensuring that citizens become an active part of this entire process.
Thank you, Farah. I think this is my pleasure to speak in front of all eminent dignitaries and share the smallest the understanding I have about the Mumbai's and the while intervention in Mumbai. So as Motghare was also was highlighting that yes, Maharashtra has been always on the forefront. So that's the legacy we had. Whether it's Rozgar Hami Yojana started from Maharashtra, it becomes the National Rural Narega or National Rural Employment Guarantee Act. When the information movement, right to information movement has reached to the national level. So of course, I think on the right, on the air quality movement, or we can say the clean air movement, has been should be the precedent for the entire state and in front of the country to create the standard benchmark in the coming time. So when we say this, definitely what we see is that, of course, the City Clean Air Action Plan focuses on creation of the city level or district level review committees, and also the involvement of citizen-based group, CPOs, NGOs, and their involvement in the execution of this plan. So, when the most of the plans, even we see in Mumbai, has been, whether it's water management plan 2007-8, has been taken into the consultation with the people across the city of Mumbai. In the same fashion, in the coming time, as we see, and our honorable Mumbai Commissioner has been also highlighted that by 2050, the city would be in the most of the part would be in the under the water. So seeing all kinds of this emergency and the situation, we need to have very collaborative and collective efforts to reimagine the city, to build the city in the more sustainable resilience approach towards climate. And I think that's why even very specific to the clean air action plan, as Ronak was also highlighting that how can we have the health advisory to reaching out to the people, and that will help the citizen to take forward the steps whether to come out of the home, not to come out of the home, because mostly the children and the women are going to be the victim of the rising air quality. And as we have also the way very the excellent disaster management cell in the city of Bombay, why not we have the emergency systems to address the air, the deteriorating air quality, especially after the Diwali we have been seen in the city of Mumbai. So when the last year in the month of January to last year in the November, December and January, people were calling to the Waatavaran, the phone numbers, and they were telling that, sir, this is the problem we are having in the home, where should we address this complaint. So all these people are having some concern that need to be integrated into the entire the climate action plan, and have this collective effort to engage that. So we have been seeing the lot of climate violation is happening, whether it's fire burning, water burning is happening. How can we have the squads in the place, or how can the way we any the criminal offense happen, we go to the police station. We have some systems in the place that we can get the justice. In the same way, the when the citizens are in the annoyed situation, or the getting into the in the big trouble because of breathing the fresh air, or being the air quality, for example, we have seen the Bahul was the hotspot where people were been raising the concern. So addressing that concern, we should have this mechanism in the place to and the sale to address and penalize the offender, and not and have the zero tolerance approach. In the same way, what Amrita was also been highlighting, how can we go to the ward level intervention? While going to the ward level intervention, how can we have ensuring the all our mechanisms, whether it's area sabha, ward committees, can be have the discussions about this climate action plan in the coming time, and they can come up with the input and the recommendation how this can be implemented effectively. So and how we can build the community itself towards climate resilient, they would be also ready, as the commissioner was highlighting in the itself in the launch, that the possibly the MCGM and the single authority can't may not able to deal entire the emergency is going to be happen in the cities. So we need to have very collective and collaborative effort, instead of blaming each other and coming with the um, with very positive approach towards the citizens engagement, and the way the yeah, I think that's the point I want to highlight. Along with that, as Amita ma'am has spoke on that, but how can we also take for the city of Mumbai regional approach or the airshed approach, because the air quality is been also been impacted because of whether it's Palghar or Thane, or even in Navi Mumbai, Taloja, or other industrial emission is happening. The way CAC report came in the first week of the March, it was highlighting the way the furnace oil and furnace fuel is being used across the MMR region. It's impacting on the city of Mumbai. So how can we take that regional approach and the airshed approach to deal the air quality and deal the climate action plan in the coming time? Thank you so much for giving time.
Thank you. Thank you, Bhagwan. I would now like to call upon our final speaker for this session today, Mr. Nitai Mehta, who is the founder of Praja Foundation. Sir, please, I would like you, as you know, you closely work with the ground at the grassroots levels. How would you suggest would be an effective method for accountability towards ensuring that the plans that are put forward, they are implemented in a timely and organized manner?
First of all, thank you for inviting me out here for this panel discussion. I'll be quickly putting forward my points on what perhaps is the solutions and something of accountability and monitoring. But before I get into this, what I'm a little concerned is there is a lot of hyperbole that goes on when we talk about climate, and saying that the city is going to get inundated by 2050, and we need to do something very, very urgently, is a bit of a hyperbole. And this is something that we need to be very, very careful about, that we don't fall into a sort of a trap of our own words. Point I'm trying to make is that when we do knee-jerk reactions to situations, we don't think things through. Sometimes the outcome of, even though it was good intention, is perhaps worse than the solution, worse than the problem. I mean, I'll give you an example. What happened in China in the 1960s, there was this issue where people in China, the Communist Party of China started talking about the fact that there were too many sparrows in the country which are eating up the grains. And they made a program to kill all the sparrows, where they started killing all the sparrows across the world, across China. And the consequence of that was that there was a huge loss of the grains, because the insects started eating up the grains, and that was a much greater loss that took place. So I think whenever we talk about things, let's be measured, let's talk sensibly. Yes, there is a problem, let's address those problems in a more sensible manner. Anyway, coming to the question of monitoring and looking at things that need to be done as far as the city is concerned, a lot of things, experts out here have given suggestions of what needs to be done: constant monitoring across the city, the cost-benefit analysis of monitoring. It's been done nationally and locally also. But there are 3 points I'd just like to make as far as the solution is concerned to issues, which was also put out in your presentation right in the beginning. As far as waste management is concerned, and we talked about waste management in proper dealing of waste management, one of the most successful cities has been Indore, and they look at complete waste management issues and looking at recycling at the local level. In fact, for some years now, in Mumbai, in F South Ward in Mumbai, there's a fantastic experiment being done where zero waste is being developed and being produced. No waste from there goes into the waste dumps across the city. Is this something that we can look at? There was a gentleman, Mr. Sachin Padwal, who was the was a councillor of the F South Ward area, and he had, along with other people, had an organization called Sai Krupa, had implemented this in F South Ward, where there was zero waste being generated. Can that be expanded across the city? One of the learnings of that was that actually it saved money for the municipal corporation, rather than spending more money in getting more funds to recycle waste and all. It actually made saved money, and it recycled everything. There was zero waste coming out from F South Ward. Can we really look at that aspect? The second thing is the question of decongestion of the city. Already in your presentation, you mentioned that Mumbai is one of the most congested cities in the world. Can we look at decongestion? Why are we focusing on all the development in Mumbai? Can we look at trying to push development outside, across the harbour from Mumbai, and decongest the city with the number of people? Already, as I said, it's a very congested city. Can we look at decongestion of city, and long-term planning for that needs to be done? And the third thing is public transport. Can we look at public transport in a more distinct? One of the things that is critical in Mumbai as far as public transport is concerned is that most of you perhaps may not know that 50% of the people in Mumbai actually walk to their place of work or walk to their requirements that need to be done. And 26 or 28% go by trains, about 13-14% go by the bus, by the trains, and about 30-40% go by bus. It's only 4 to 8% that go by private cars. But our focus is complete. The pyramid is completely inverted. Our focus is private cars and private this thing. You are seeing the number of cars that are coming into road. You're seeing the coastal road development. You're seeing even the Shivri Nawasheva road that is being built, which is the other thing that has happened. You're not looking at public transport out there. Why aren't you putting a railway connection across this place? So these are things that we really need to focus on. Praja monitors a lot of things that happened as far as the Mumbai Municipal Corporation is concerned and Maharashtra government is concerned. We will be happy to partner organizations that have proposed this program to see how we can look at monitoring all the work that's happening and keep the government and institutions on a tight leash that they actually deliver what they're promising to deliver. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Nitai Mehta, for ending on this note. Now that we have, concluded with all the expert panelists, I would like to invite Dr. V.M. Motghare, who is the Joint Director for Air Pollution Control in the MPCB Department of Maharashtra. Sir, I would like you to respond to, all the recommendations, everything that you have seen and heard during this particular session, and to give us a roadmap of how you would, how we can see the air quality issues being addressed in Mumbai in the coming time.
Thank you, Farah. All the speakers and our DMC Sunil Godse sir, and all my colleagues, senior colleagues, and it was a wonderful talk from all the speakers on the Mumbai Climate Action Plan. Firstly, I want to tell that all this started way back in 2018, when the National Green Tribunal has directed all the non-attainment cities in the country to prepare an action plan. And Central Pollution Control Board, in consultation with MOEF, has developed a 42-point charter for development of the action plan. Thereafter, MPCB, in consultation with all the municipal corporations, has developed this Clean Air Action Plan. And this was submitted to the Honorable Central Government. The Clean Air Action Plan consists of six-fold manifold, that is control of vehicular emission, road dust resuspension, biomass burning, industrial air pollution, construction, C&D activities, and other pollutions. This action plan was approved, and this is a regularly monitored at city level committees formed. The one gentleman, Mr. Vijay, was mentioning about the monitoring aspect. This is monitored at city level or district magistrate level on a monthly basis, and also at the principal secretary level at air quality monitoring committee. And also when we go for a NGT cases, it is also monitored by the Honorable Chief Secretary. So there is a well-placed monitoring mechanism to review this action plan, how this implementation is going on or not. The aim of this National Clean Air Program is the reduction of the ambient air quality target by 20 to 30% in a span of next 5 years. So what MPCB has done now, before the initiation of the action plan, way back in 2017-16, we have approached to NIRI and IIT Mumbai for emission inventory for all 18 non-attainment cities of Maharashtra, and now million plus city is Vasai is added. So all our short-term emission inventory plan is ready, and this long-term and so SI and EI study will be ready by December end. So we'll come to know what is the exact status of emission sources from each of the contribution. This is number one. Then what is happening is this Maharashtra has also have a monitoring stations. Why, when Vijay was mentioning about the most of the cities in Maharashtra, in the country, highest number of monitors are there in Maharashtra, and it is in public domain as compared to the other states. That's why all the data shows, some data shows about ambient air quality. Whatever the data we have taken from 2011 to 2015, which is above the parameters, is taken into the non-attainment city, and that's what these 18 cities are there. Other states may not be having that much monitoring network. That's what their cities are not included. So under implementation of these action plans, we already have a airshed approach in a Mumbai agglomeration, where almost 9 municipal corporations are there, where action plans are ready and under implementation in an advanced stage. We are along with this 15 CAQMS are there, which are 24/7 are working, and 11 are in Mumbai, and 2-3 more will be added apart from the industries also. The Maharashtra has come out with the EV policies, and as you know, around 3,300 crores have been distributed by the central government to the government of Maharashtra, and out of which 793 crore is allotted to Mumbai city agglomeration, and we are on the EV policy right now. So our aim is to convert this most of the funds 70 to 80% fund on the EV policy. So there will be a minimum vehicular pollution from this, and other activities maybe that contributing in this is the dust emission, industries, C&D waste, bakeries and crematoria, and strengthening of air quality monitoring network. Apart from this, MPCB with an advanced SODAR we have implemented. That is one of the state of art. We can have a monitoring network, and low cost sensors already we have installed at nearly 40 in our 11 monitoring stations. C&D waste, right? Mumbai Municipal Corporation or Thane Municipal Corporation are on a verge of setting up their C&D waste facilities, and it will be started soon. And performance-based assessment of all this national clean air program is in place as per the guidelines of MOF and GOI government of India. So if the performance is good, corporation will get the funds in the next year. So I think overall approach adopted by the Mumbai Municipal Corporation and Maharashtra Pollution Control Board under the dynamic leadership of and under guidance of Honorable Aditya Thackeray sir, who is our Minister for Environment, we hope Mumbai Clean Air Action Plan will succeed and it will be in a win-win situation for all. I thank you, Farah, for giving me the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now I would like to call upon Lubena, who is currently at the BMC headquarters. We also have representatives from BMC who would like to share their final concluding remarks on this entire session.
Thank you, Farah. I think I have to mute this.
Can you try speaking?
Hello, everyone.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah. So no, thank you, everybody. Thank you to the speakers who shared their recommendations and actions today. Air quality is definitely a really priority area for us, and considering that we are already 10 minutes over time, I am just going to invite Shri Sunil Godse. He's the BMC Environment and Nodal Officer for the Mumbai Climate Action Plan, to give us some closing remarks.
Before I give thanks, I am giving one submission. United Nations General Assembly has designated 7th September as the International Day of Clean Air for Blue Skies. This is the second year, and the theme of the year is Healthy Air and Healthy Planet, which emphasis on the health aspects of air pollution, especially considering COVID-19 pandemic. MOEF and CC has arranged this International Day of Clean Air for Blue Skies under NCAP on 7th September 2021 from 9:15 a.m. to 10 a.m. On the basis of that, I had circulated letters to about 50 plus participants, including my internal stakeholders and outer stakeholders, to organize some functions for celebrating or organizing this International Day of Clean Air for Blue Skies. We are working with WRI, C40s, climate houses for this Mumbai Climate Action Plan, and for that International Day for Clean Air. Now, thank you so much to all the panelists and participants for all your recommendations and suggestions. This is the first time Mumbai is creating a climate action plan. So we want to listen to you and integrate your feedback in the plan, and it will benefit to Mumbai city as well as to all our organizations. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Yeah, I think we can close.
Yes, yes.
Thanks
Thank
so
you
much,
all.
everyone. And please do share your written feedback on the website as well. Thank you.
Thank you all for attending. Thank you all to all our esteemed panelists and for all our participants. Thank you so much.